Hi, thank you for joining us. My name is Gilbert and I'm the CEO and co-founder of eMsika. We recently wrote an article titled The Modern Education System, and in that article we spoke about how one is no longer limited to the idea of sitting in a classroom at specific times for them to learn anything. Despite the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic being terrible and devastating, it made room for a lot of innovation across the world. One of them for us at eMsika is how we deliver information to farmers. You see, prior to the pandemic, we followed farmers to their residential areas to educate them on how to farm as a business, sometimes even having classes in the heat of the sun. Now, we get to reach a much wider audience who are young, old, experienced, and even aspiring farmers in the comfort of their homes or wherever they may choose to take their lessons from. Anyone is at liberty to attend any class at any time and study at their own pace using our recently launched platform, Apunzile.com. In full words, Mulimi Apunzile. On this platform, we get to work with professionals from different fields: agrochemicals, livestock, plant diseases, and so on. If you would love to be part of this global community like I do, you can access our e-learning platform by simply going to www.apunzile.com and pick from a wide range of programs that we have made available for you. We look forward to seeing you there. And please remember, no farmer, no food. Thank you. All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone. We are so glad to receive you this evening. This is training brought to you by Zhunga Farms in conjunction with Mulimi Apunzile. Today we have a very, very powerful guest, somebody that we all consider dear to us, and I will leave that to Simbolanga to literally just lay us through over what we are going to be learning on and how that is going to be going. But right now, I'd like to inform you that we have our all the channels open right here on Zoom. We are going to be expecting a few things I'll be laying out for us, our group activities and how we are supposed to lay out our questions and all. On Facebook, we are live on Zhunga Farms or Zhunga Simbolanga. You can share that. If you have got a colleague who cannot join in right now, please share it with them and they should be able to follow us very easily. And we'll also be having it live as well on the Mulimi Apunzile Facebook page. So please, right now, be aware that this is Apunzile. My name is Gilbert Mwale, and the CEO and co-founder of eMsika, joined with me with the eMsika team here. We help small-scale farmers find agricultural inputs, buy them, and have them delivered to them. You can simply go to eMsika.com for that. And for e-learnings or trainings on how to farm, just like this one, including the one by Mr. Zhunga Simbolanga, you will find them as well on apunzile.com. So please go to our Facebook pages, Zhunga Farm Facebook pages, eMsika Facebook pages, Mulimi Apunzile Facebook pages, like them, YouTube channels, subscribe, and you'll be able to receive more trainings like these ones. For today's exciting training, I would like to introduce once more somebody who's not new to us, Mr. Zhunga Simbolanga. Please, the floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mwale, and welcome everyone. This is Zhunga Simbolanga, proprietor for Zhunga Farms, and our aim as Zhunga Farms is to bring out aspects of farming, agriculture in particular, to all people who are interested, beginners, those that have been there for medium term, and those that are there for longer term, both subsistence and commercial farmers. Our aim is to equip people with farming. And you are welcome to our program today. As already said by Mr. Mwale, today's speaker is Mr. Chibamba Kanyama, a well-known person to us. He is a business leader, as well as an economist, a writer, and an affluent educator to many people. And a lot of people have confessed to his mentoring and he's a graduate of the University of Reading and University of Zambia. He is well acquainted with the things that mostly affect us, particularly also as farmers. We must learn from his investments strategies. And today, particularly, we are focusing at that. As Zhunga Farms, we bring it to you for free into our homes, and for many of us to be able to understand and listen. And as we always say, every Sunday, as I remind you, that you tell us who you want us to bring, and we'll do our best to bring them. And today, we have managed to bring our mentor, our leader, our economist, our investment advisor, Mr. Chibamba Kanyama, and I'll allow him now to address us in particular on this topic that we have today, agriculture as a generational investment. So you handle all the aspects properly, and please, if you have questions, always write them. If it's on Facebook, on his page, on my page, on Mulimi Apunzile, or indeed those that are watching us via Zoom, they can post the questions there. We'll select to do our best to answer within the time that is given to us. If we fail, we'll continue answering them as we go, since the postings will be on our pages. Please let us welcome Mr. Chibamba Kanyama. Mr. Chibamba Kanyama, you're welcome to Zhunga Farms.
Thank you very much, Director Simbalanga. I call him Director because we sit on the same board somewhere. I also would like to welcome all of you who have taken the time to join this sharing. I'm calling it sharing because 90% of things I want to share, my personal assessments, they come from my personal observations, my personal experiences, and I believe that we'll learn something together. Knowledge is about experiences, sharing knowledge with one another. And some of you know better about this subject than I do. Therefore, doing the Q&A, I'm hoping that you may as well make some contributions. So thank you so much for being invited to speak tonight. It's such a great, great honor to me, especially that I know most of the audience members are either farmers or those planning to be farmers. And this is the right time to do so. The environment is changing, and I can assure you the environment will really change in the next coming years. So this is the right time to position yourself, not only for yourself, but for your families and generations to come. I came up from, raised in a farming background. My father himself was a great, great farmer, a fruit farmer, apparently. And that was unprecedented in those days, a fruit farmer. And he worked for a white farmer, and it was through that he became a farmer himself. And if I had grown up with my father, I know that I would have inherited those pieces of land. Right now, that farm is being taken care of by my stepsister. And when I visited the village, I was not happy at all to see what has happened, but that is life. I grew up actually with my stepfather, who also was a farmer. I learned by driving on a tractor. So I started driving when I was 15, 16 years old, sleeping in the fields all night, plowing on a tractor. We spent most hours burning gas, drums and 210-liter gas drums and of diesel. So we come from far as kids. That is the culture we grew under. Right now, I'm not a farmer. Actually, I'm not a farmer. I've got 2 pieces of land, which one of them used to grow cotton, but because of distance and lack of passion, I stopped it. But I'm growing my passion once again. I'm growing my passion once again to go back into my area of heritage. I call agriculture area of heritage. So our discussion today will cover 4 things for the next 45 minutes. 4 things. First of all, we'll look beyond just investments in agriculture. We'll look broadly about the different asset classes, and 4 asset classes I'll introduce you to. Some of you already know about them, where people have built legacies for generation to generation. So I will take you through that. Number 2, I'll look at what are some of the pillars There are many pillars, but these are according to my own assessment. And I came up with the full knowledge of agricultural investment when I worked for Zambia State Insurance Corporation, because this exposed me a lot, having financed a lot of farmers in Mukushi, Lusaka, in the value chain, in agriculture itself. And this enabled me to write my first book, Business Values for Our Time, which has been redone into a second edition and it's completed. My editors have passed it. It's a question of refining it for print. So it's this that exposed me to the business of agriculture, having been done due diligences for so many farms, due diligences, and known how business in agriculture has thrived for certain cultures, especially going to Mukushi and Choma, visiting a lot of those farmers, doing tobacco, doing wheat, doing maize, doing an assortment, including livestock. And I took time to talk to them, interviewed them, assessed them, because we had to lend them money. So you have to do that due diligence. Where's my team? We are looking at the possibility of lending, the assessment of the profile of the investors, of the farmers, as whether they were eligible for funding or not. For me, I was looking at beyond that. What makes agriculture inheritable? Why is it that some of those colleagues we talked to, people like Daka, he's now in Isarenge, and the brother in Mukushi, how did they become farmers at very young age? The Chilala family, Chilala is even captured in my book, the ups and downs of the Chimusoro farm and how he designed it, some of his things didn't work, having lost 2 children. He groomed those 2 children to be part of that heritage and that empire of the Chimusoro farms. 2 of them passed away. And the third one is looking at the elements that support generational wealth in agriculture. What are these elements that really help it? And we'll conclude with the values for generational wealth in agriculture. What are some of the values? And there are 10, I'll just go through them very quickly, that real 10. So as a way of introducing us to this topic, I'll say generational wealth is part of a culture. Actually, it's a culture. There are families that are known to embark on agriculture, and they are known for that. It can be culture within a bigger society. We have got certain cultures in Zambia that are just agricultural oriented. All they think about is agriculture. They go to university, they go, all on their mind is agriculture. It's a culture. So agriculture can actually be a culture, a way of doing things. And the culture is easy to pass on to next generations, because you're not necessarily passing on the asset. You are passing on beliefs and values to the next generation, and they carry it on and go on. There's also a huge disruption in how wealth passed on to new generations is happening in Zambia. As we see, I looked at the book by, it's audited by Sam Chipungu. It's one of the good books looking at the events before independence. And I used a lot of such information to see how some disruptions happened. For example, people in the southern province were aided by system of colonialism to remain in agriculture. So it was easier for them to focus a lot more on agriculture and pass on to that to their other generations. And they were kept away from going into the copper belt to work. So the southern province, most of them were deliberately kept away from going to the copper belt to go and work by the colonial masters. The task was that the copper belt would need food, some farmer to supply. So workers would come from the north and eastern province and so forth, and northwestern to go and work on the copper belt, whereas the southern province was kept away from doing that so that there could be constant supply of food to the mining, and it's there in that book. So in other words, other generations like from the eastern province who had so much passion for agriculture were disrupted by this colonial scheme. It was a strategy. But we are now beginning to see that with the emergence of capitalism now, having come out from the Kaunda regime, from independence, the socialism of the KK time, today we're talking about agriculture once again and capitalism. So the passion is beginning to emerge. That's why there are so many of you watching who are following this discussion. This was unprecedented some few years ago. Because many of you now beginning to see that this is wealth, this is money, this is about. What are some of the issues that are emerging? There's, of course, new appetite for long-term investments. Young Zambians today are beginning to see that they can begin the formula of success for new generations. Many of us did not inherit anything from our parents, unfortunately. But the good thing is we decided that we will not pass on poverty to our next generations. We will not pass on failure, or if I may call it that way, or disruption to our next generations. We made a decision. Many of you who are watching are making a decision that we will begin a process. We shall begin a process. We will not be what we dreamed to be. You won't. Many of you will, others won't. Others won't. You won't accumulate millions of dollars as a wealthy farmer. But you are beginning a process to convert your children into multimillionaires and multi-billionaires, your grandchildren to be the empire of your dream. And that's why I always say, you can always become your dream through your children or through your grandchildren. And that's what we are discussing today. So there's a new appetite for long-term investment. People are no longer consuming anymore. I've seen people are driving very small cars now. It's part of our culture today. Of course, we see these big vehicles, but I've seen Zambians now beginning to drive these little Suzukis, not that they are poor, but because they know where the money should go now. They are beginning to be focused. Nobody minds the business of buying a very big car. Let me buy something worthy. Individuals are beginning to rediscover the difference between savings or investment and consumption. That's very, very good news. And you find it across the board. Either those that are working or those that are in businesses, they are beginning to see the difference. And the environment now is offering diversity investment portfolios, which is really cool. We are no longer restricted to investing money. It wasn't even an investment, leaving it in the bank, or leaving it perhaps in a piece of land. In fact, land was not valuable at that particular time. So Zambians were not really saving as much. We didn't have the stock market. We didn't have all these diverse portfolios. We did not have government securities. But today, we got an array of investments. You know, it's such a joy. Just yesterday, my family were so excited to see that they're receiving checks. They're actually receiving checks because all my children, except the last born, got shares in the stock markets, not one, but many of them. And the checks some of them are paying very good dividends, like CEC, they're getting paid nicely. So these are investment vehicles that are available for us. And we are now having entrepreneurial families. Wherever you go today in Zambia, people are beginning to talk about business, and it excites me. It really excites me. You see that the dream of entrepreneurship is beginning to be alive in the lives of people, in their families, across you. You know, Zambians are becoming to understanding and appreciating the value of entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is simply about foregoing immediate enjoyment, you know, for future gain, putting aside something so that you can reap some profit in the future. It's about proactivity. It's about engaging in some activity that gives you profit. Doesn't matter what it is, but it gives you profit. In other words, got knowledgeable families today. The people who are now in farming are actually working class. These are, we call them weekend farmers. They are working class people. They are four-sided families. They don't want to pass on poverty in the future. They are beginning to see and position their children and grandchildren well. This is great news. Families are becoming more innovative now. You see it, and it's so exciting, you know. So we are beginning to see that generational wealth, in terms of understanding it, is referring to assets passed by one generation of a family to the next. That's what it really means. In some cases, this is from the dictionary or from the business Investopedia. In some cases, assets are transferred after death in the form of an inheritance. That's what happens. And in other cases, they are passed to the next generation while the giver is still alive, and these things happen today. I personally gave properties to my children when I'm still alive, and they're earning rent from those properties. My sons, two of my firstborn sons, each one I gave a property. This is your property, and by the way, we are renting now both properties as a business. Well, two businesses we are renting from them, and we have been paying rent. We've been paying rent with the taxes to the government paid from that rent, and the rent is paid off to my children. So this is what is happening today to many families, that they are still alive and are passing on this wealth to their children. So generational wealth contributes to both the wealth gap between rich and poor in the USA. And you see that even in Zambia, this will become the trend today, that generational wealth is what will anchor this country properly. So the four asset classes I want to quickly touch on, there are four asset classes where you can invest. I personally am in three of them. In fact, I'm in four of them. I'm actually in four of them now, in all the four asset classes. The first one is what we call the stocks, or paper assets. These are the stocks, these are the bonds. These are really what we term near money assets. You can recall them at any time. They can also be long-term in nature. So they have an exit mechanism. That's a good thing. You can exit. I exited from one of them, from one of the banks, when I saw the share price was going down and there was that mandatory offer. We took advantage, we sold, but of course at a loss, unfortunately, because I bought at a higher price, but sold at a low price. This is a sad story, but I still got my money out. I was able to exit from that investment, but leaving many others. So in other words, it's trade about a higher return. Some of the people who are watchers of the market, you can sell your shares when you see the appreciation of the share price. And of course, so that I put Kenny, okay, should we can pay dividends, you can get dividends. Some of the best payers of dividends are CEC, and a few others pay very good dividends, apparently. And if you have invested in those stocks in Zambia or abroad or anywhere, this is a very good asset vehicle. Yeah, you can, what we call capital gain. Capital gain simply means that as you invest your share in the shares, over a period of time, those shares appreciate in value. You may have invested at 10,000 kwacha, maybe 10 years ago. Today, you have left your shares, you haven't sold any, or maybe you have sold just a portion, but you have maintained those shares there. And today, the value 10 years later, in one stock, maybe it's Chilanga or Lafarge, you'll find that you are now worth 300,000, and yet you invested only 10,000. So it can happen that way. So that's what we call capital gain. In other words, your investment has gained, your capital investment has gained over a period of time. The rule of thumb, by the way, is understanding the cycle and the timing. So there are rules that govern investing in the paper stocks, whether it's the bonds or the stocks particularly. Right now, the bonds in Zambia, they'll be investing, you see the price is coming down in Zambia, the bond market is going down. And is impacting on the exchange, on the interest rates, which is very good news, of course, for the country, with that the bond prices are coming down. In terms of stocks, they go up and down. Now, the timing is important, because if you invest when the stock price is very high, and all the price is very high, if you invest, it may not really get higher than that. And that's how I lost money in one bank. I know it's the offer price, the initial price, what you call the IPO, was 13 kwacha per share. And I watched the price going up until it reached 55 kwacha per share. Now, because I saw the price going up, I said, well, this is a very good investment to go in. The price from 13 kwacha to 55 kwacha per share is a great time to enter the market. And I entered the market, in the secondary market, at 55 kwacha per share. The challenge was it never rose from that moment. It began to come down, down until it reached 13 kwacha per share. And I saw it at 12.50. I lost 15 per share. And that was regrettable, because I did not enter when things were low. Now, the rule of the thumb normally in investment, especially stock market, enter when the price is down, enter when the price is low. In fact, people who understand how to behave buy assets when the economy is not doing well. Wow, that's very interesting. Buy assets. It's not always like that, but normally, in normal cases, the investment bankers and those who understand the market performance enter the market when things are not looking good, because at that point everything is underpriced. It's underpriced. But there's a process what's called price discovery. The price goes up over time. So enter the market when things are down. That's when you invest, not when things are up, because it cannot go up any further at some point. So, of course, those who love this asset class of paper assets, stocks, and bonds must have risk tolerance. Why? Is because at times you lose your money. You know, the share price can just drop. and you lose your money. The second one is real estate. This is where many of you are. This one requires more money. And of course, a lot of time, it is not as liquid. You may want to sell your house. It will take you maybe 1 year to find the right buyer, okay? So that's the disadvantage of this one. Of course, even in Zambia, by the way, in Zambia, the stock market we discussed earlier. In Zambia, the stock market also is illiquid. It's illiquid on two sides. You cannot easily find a buyer for your shares. That's the problem in Zambia. And you may not easily find somebody selling shares, those you want. People are not willing to, because people don't want to offload. So Zambia is one of the few markets in Southern Africa which still has an illiquid market. But as time goes on now, I'm very sure that will become liquid, and liquid can easily exit, can easily buy. Okay, provide a passive income stream. Yes, over time, as you put your asset there, you are earning your income, you are earning your rent, potential for substantial appreciation. Yes, it can appreciate in value. Property usually appreciates in value over many years. That's about property. Not all the time, but most of the cases, property or real estate appreciates in value. Tolerant to market and economic and financial risk. That's a good thing about real estate. At times, people use it as a hedge. That's why they say don't put all eggs in one basket. You invest there, you invest there. So when the stock prices are going down, real estate can cushion you, because usually it's above the economic pressures, it's above inflation. So money has that kind of tolerance. And of course, it's easy to finance. Most of the properties you find in Zambia are financed either by bank loans or something, because the same asset can be used as collateral by the lender. Intellectual property, this is, I'm also in this one as well, because I have books that I'm leaving for my generations in the future. Most of these are intangible assets, like music, like intellectual property, something that you have designed and patented it, okay? For us who like writing books, you patent, you have your book, and it sells over time for children. People like Pongos, the PK Chishalas, and the estate is paying for the children, I'm very sure. The Natural Pishin Kazembe, the estate is paying. This is what we call intellectual property. This one, you do it for the generations to come, for children in the future, okay? The final asset class is a business, but this is what I'm focusing on today. A business is you can have equity investment. In other words, you can have shares in a company like some of us have done, or you can actually have your own company and your own business. So this gives you potential for unlimited income. In other words, it really is business. It's a good thing. I personally don't regret that I'm in business. I was telling a colleague today, I said, look, if you receive an offer for a job for government, you really have to think twice now. It's no longer exciting to say, I want to find a job in government. If you are really doing good in your business, you find you are safer, your potential is greater, and this is the only place you can leave an asset for your children. Because when you work for other people, you are working for other people. They will love you for the period that you are working for them. They will give you a vehicle, they'll give you a good salary, they'll give you what. And clever people will use that just as a process of accumulating wealth for the real thing. I don't consider jobs as the real thing. Jobs are temporary in nature. Your children will never inherit a job. They will never, it's never generational in nature. So the clever people are using the income to have an asset which they will use as collateral to start a business. So they will buy land, they'll build a house or something using a salary, and then they begin their own real thing. Personally, I'm happy with what I'm doing at the moment. So it excites me a lot, because I don't have to, my income is unlimited. I'm seeing the difference between the time I worked and the time I am now on my own. Of course, there are greater rewards for higher risks, and you take a huge risk and you are rewarded so well. It's really about never work a day in your life. It's a syndrome. I'm calling it a syndrome. I shouldn't have used the word syndrome here. No. It's not a syndrome. I think I look for a word. It's never work in a day life belief. Let me use the word belief. I'm removing the word syndrome there. I don't know what I was thinking. What I have in mind here is that when you have got passion in your business, you don't feel like you're working. I look forward to tomorrow. In fact, when you are in your business, which you love so much, you don't like weekends, because you just want to work. And right now, as I'm talking to you, I can't wait for Monday, because my mind is already there. There are contracts to sign, there are things that to be done, we have to execute some things, and it's so exciting. I don't feel like it's working. You know, it's like I'm being rewarded for taking a risk in my life, for doing something that I love so much. So many of you are here, and I want to say agriculture is part of a business. Agriculture is part of a business. So that's what I want to focus on now in the next 20 minutes. So pillars of agriculture as an investment. First of all, now I drew this thing here to show that, I don't know whether it makes sense to many of you. Now, these pillars are designed by me. This is just my own pillar. It shouldn't reflect what your pillars are. But this is what I feel are the pillars, that the key pillars to me is capital accumulation, is organic growth, structure, systems, processes, passion, and knowledge. Now, these pillars are highlighted very strongly in some part of my book itself. So I get them from a section of my book. And I believe that this is what it means of capital accumulation. Somebody must begin the formula. Many of you here who are watching me already got a piece of land somewhere. That is called capital accumulation. Many of you never inherited anything from your parents. Never. If you did, you really have doubled that wealth or quadrupled it or made it millions now, be millionaires in agriculture, but you are not yet because you didn't inherit anything. You are beginning the formula of capital accumulation because capital keeps building over generations. Some of you will not be millionaires in your lifetime, but your children will. And they'll be able to look back that somebody began the formula of capital accumulation. So you are foregoing a lot of things, many of you are foregoing a lot of things. Some of you are able to go for holiday every weekend, every Saturday, every month, every year to Hawaii or whatever. But you are foregoing all that and making those strong sacrifices because you don't want to leave your children stranded in the future. You want to accumulate wealth that will transform generations coming after you. So in agriculture is capital intensive. So somebody must begin with the land. Somebody must begin with something. You know, you invest in land, you invest in something, you accumulate the wealth. And as you go on, you keep building that wealth and accumulating and building over it. The second one is really about organic growth. I'm emphasizing organic growth because I personally believe, this is a personal belief. I don't know how, the Bible also talks about it, about wealth. Accumulating wealth in a hurry definitely will disappear. There are no shortcuts in the wealth accumulation path. There are no shortcuts. There are no shortcuts. And I believe that if there's no track record of your source of income, whether you have got 40 million kwacha or whatever, and you can't track it, you can't know where it came from, you just got it from somewhere, it will destroy you and it will destroy your future generations. That is not the way to build wealth. Generational wealth is never shortcut. If you are talking about temporary wealth for now, yes, you can go there and get your millions and put it in your home and keep it somewhere, dig a hole and bury it and begin to boast, I've got this much wealth. It will not last your generation. I can assure you that. Because it's not only about having a lot of money. It's about how that money teaches you something. How are you winning that money that comes your way, and what is it teaching you? Businesses expand over time. Businesses, the agriculture story. Many of you are in agriculture. You are yes, invest, do, but remember this, that you never finish the job in your lifetime. If you are looking at generational wealth through agriculture, begin the pathway, begin to accumulate, but you never achieve everything. You should also be leaving something, do the foundation and begin to build on the foundation and let your children begin to build on it. It's called organic or incremental investment, incremental growth, step by step, because each step teaches you something. You learn mistakes as you go on. You learn mistakes. You are not working in reverse. When you start from the top, you are going to be going down. When you start from the beginning, from the foundation, you only be going up. And the third pillar is structures, systems, and processes. I'll talk about them shortly on the values. That efficiency, generational wealth is not so much about growing tomato, having livestock, growing bananas, or whatever you are doing. Anybody can do that. And the reason most of the businesses have not survived in our generation, that the reason our forefathers who did businesses before have not really gone beyond their generation, whether it's a transport business, whatever it ended with them, is because they had capital, They began to grow slowly, but they didn't have structures. They didn't have systems. It had no processes in how they did it. There was no, how do I call it? There was no pathway. No, there was no, there's a word I'm looking for, which is disappearing, which defines a prototype. That word has come. It's a prototype. It must be a prototype. A prototype is the thing like Kentucky Fried Chicken or Hungry Lion. Wherever you go, the process is a process. The owners are no longer making money by doing Hungry Lion. The owners are franchising it. What are they franchising? They are franchising the structures, the systems, the processes. Generational wealth is anchored on this, by the way. You can leave your children with land. You can leave your children with a farm. But if there are no structures, no systems, no processes, from which it's like a Bible where they can refer to something that this is how this business began, and this is how it is. This is the prototype. This is the formula. This is the model. This is the model of our business. This is the way it shall survive. If that is lacking, it won't pass beyond generation. The moment you go, the business is gone. You don't pass on the land only. You pass on the systems. Okay. And finally, of course, I put it passion and knowledge. Apart from systems, you transfer passion. And it may appear to be very insignificant, but this is the ingredient that is lacking, because many of you are doing farms today, and you want it to be generational wealth for the generations to come, the families and the children, but the children are doing something else. Some are not even in the country, they're in China, they're teaching English. They are not here with you in your farm. How do you pass on that when they don't even feel like agriculture is business? In fact, when they look at you, you are suffering. They look at you, you are suffering. They're even praying for you that God answers our prayer that our fathers have abandoned that business of farming. It's disrespectful for them. It's like dishonorable. It doesn't give you the respect of society. You know, that's the way our mindset is attuned, that agriculture is a pastime. It's not the real thing. But if you want to pass on generational wealth, the key issue is pass on commitment, skill, passion to enlarge the sphere of your influence beyond your time. The third thing I want to talk about are the enablers that support generational wealth in 5 minutes. What are these? What are these enablers enablers are things that really make it work? And there are four things there are many, but I've found just 4 things I thought I'd talk about. One of them, which is very interesting now, is that agriculture is aligned to modern educational skills. So in other words, there's nobody who can say agriculture is for the dull people or failure society, although that's got nothing to do. Your children should be anchored in here, where you feel actually agriculture is nicely blended in technical competencies that we teach children, whether it is finance. So Costin Chilala, in my book, he talked about all his children, how he trained them. Others were doing law because agriculture has to do with a lot of contracts, a lot of contracts. And I need a child who will write law, contracts. Mutinta, who passed away, says, I wanted to have to do business administration and politics because business is politics. And you have to lobby and negotiate with authorities. So I wanted a daughter who would be not negotiating and lobbying with government authorities. Another child who died, of course, was, I can't remember the name, but Roy, I think it was Roy. He was an typical agriculture guy. Another one who is still there is more like the manager, is finance, you know. So he had all his 7 children, 6, whatever, aligned nicely into. So children should not say agriculture is for the old-fashioned, is for the old people. It is tightly linked to whatever is being taught, whether it is ICT, it's in agriculture. Whether it's mechanics, it's in agriculture. Finance is in agriculture. Law is in agriculture. Think about any profession, and there's no profession you can tell me today. Medicine, tell me, it's in agriculture too. Because you are going to get a lot of farm workers, and you want people who are good health, And you want somebody who will be coming over and checking, it's one of your children who is doing medicine and working with you in the farm. So the second pillar element that I found an enabler is that it's linked to inputs and supply. So the thing about agriculture is that it's downward and upward linkages in the supply chain. You buying fertilizer and everything else. So if you want to leave generational wealth, you can actually not only focus only on what you are growing or what you are keeping, you can have part of your system within the supply chain. So if you are talking about children, you can master the supply chain. Supply chain into your farming. So you have got your children, and also in terms of supply to the market. You've got some of your children who just specialize where to supply your products. They are finding the markets. This is generational wealth. You're controlling the whole chain, the whole supply chain is part of, that's another enabler. The third enabler is about the value chain, not supply this time, value chains. In other words, you can be involved in actual processing of what you manufacture. Chimsoro Farms had actually Chimsoro milling. I didn't see it this time because there have been some challenges lately, but he was getting into that so that whatever he grows, he mills it. Okay, so that's a beautiful thing about agriculture. So some of your children who you're training can be part of the value chain on manufacturing, processing whatever you are growing, whatever. If it's some beef, kind of you are in animal farming, you can have begin to do the sausages, you're processing. And the final enabler that I found is that this is a very interesting thing, that whereas everything else around us is changing so dynamically and becoming obsolete, people are beginning to think about new things of doing this or the other, these things, but agriculture is renewable, agriculture is sustainable, agriculture shall be there, food shall always be there. Agriculture, whether it's not non-food products, they will continue to be available for the supplies. We thought at one time cotton will no longer be valuable. Cotton shall forever be valuable. Whatever new innovations are coming across, all agriculture products shall continue to feature more in the industry, in the demand side. And finally, as I close, values to generational wealth in agriculture. What are some of the values that will help you to build generational wealth for generations to come? How does it work in agriculture? I'll just run through some of those values. Number one, require vision and foresight. Vision and foresight. The dream should go beyond your lifetime. The dream should go beyond your lifetime. Don't think in terms of the time you spend here on earth. Think beyond yourself. So whatever you do, the way you design your farm and whatever you're acquiring and expanding, think beyond yourself. Number two, I say discipline. This discipline is really about paying the price. It's about being frugal. It's about minding your own business. Why? Is because at times it's very tempting. There are people who you'll be tempted to buy Benz. There was one farmer we financed. He was not in actual farming. He was in the value chains. He was in processing, and he got a loan. It took us 6 months to complete the process, and it was tedious because we had to use a broker for that arrangement. It was tedious to do that. Finally, we did the financing, $600,000 finally given to this young man. And unfortunately, when we went to see the assets at board, we found there were assets that were not part of the process. And we were concerned that these were not part of what you wanted to buy for the money that we lent you. He says, no, he realized that he needed these vehicles because he has to negotiate very fast traveling. So he needed very fast vehicles. So the two Benz vehicles, one for him, one for the wife, was the right thing to have. And we thought we were not too happy about, because it was not part of what he wanted to buy. And I wasn't surprised. By then I had left this business. I was at the IMF, and I'm seeing this newspaper cutting that there's been a foreclosure on that business, a foreclosure. Foreclosure means that if you have to pay, and they're grabbing it. And I said, the problem began from the beginning. You failing to delay gratification, lack of discipline, failure to buy income earning assets, but luxury assets. Agriculture doesn't work that way. Agriculture is very interesting business. Agriculture, it is long term. It's not now. It's long term. If you are there to show off the neighbor and senior them, it won't work. Number 3 is passion. Treat agriculture as a business and a possible family empire. Is really an empire for the family. It is not, by the way, love it, enjoy it, hug it. You know, actually, I emphasize a lot on passion. Agriculture is about passion. If you want to go in the piggery business and you're always feeling the smell of the piggery dung, you are not into it. That is not your business. Leave it. Real farmers, they don't feel the smell. They don't get it. They just get into it. They can zola it on the face, and that is real passion. They love it, what they do. Agriculture thrives on loving it, and pass that love to your children. It must start very young among your children. Start them, inculcate the value of passion. Leadership and influence, you know, about adaptability to different circumstances because of the changes that happen over time. It's about drive again, commitment to achieve your goals, resilience and leveraging failures as means for growth. Because you'll find a lot of failing points in agriculture, but you never give up. I've met farmers who feel like giving up. By the way, one word in farming, you know, I've seen this. I've never found a farmer who is never complaining. I've never found one, maybe Mr. Chibamba. Everyone is complaining about something. It's like it's part of it. But they're complaining, they are there. Because it's a culture. That the complaining is not really about complaining. Complaining is about endurance. That look, it's never easy. But we shall provide leadership until we succeed. We shall provide a clear vision of the bigger picture and the future where we shall be. Yes, pain may be temporary, but we shall succeed. Ideas every day. You dream. When I talk to Costin Chilala, he wakes up at he says I wake up at 04 hours every day. You know, he has I don't know these days, but he had a very meticulous program around the way he arranged his life. And many other farmers I kept talking to, they have a meticulous behavior around them because it excites them. They're always dreaming about something, about whatever they're producing, what they want to produce, because they are always seeking information. They are always reading newspapers, watching TV, reading books. They have a time to read books, sharing knowledge and sharing ideas, seeking information about the market, about the prices, about potential markets in the Congo. Where is it happening? They're always seeking information. They're always alert to changes in the market, government policy. Okay. And another thing is about their great negotiators. In other words, as a farmer, you must be an excellent communicator because you are passing this value to your children, to the future. You're not passing on a farm. You're passing on a value as a negotiator, as a communicator, emotional intelligence, awareness, persuasiveness, and the ability to be decisive. Yes or no? I'm going to do this tomorrow. I won't do this one tomorrow. I take it. I don't take it. I leave it. I don't leave it. So decisive in everything that they do. Effective planning and organization, goal setting attributes, identifying goals to be achieved, deciding on a course of action. That is what farmers do. And this is the value that you want to pass on to your children for generations. And I'm emphasizing this. When I look at the Rothschild brothers, Rothschild, this is the 5th generation for the Rothschild, by the way. These are biggest investment bankers, among the biggest in the world. They're in my book, by the way. I profiled them, and it's an exciting story. They started their businesses early 18-something, but it has grown big. But they don't talk much about the empire the Rothschild brothers built. They talk much about the values that they passed on to generations. The Jews is about the values from the Torah, the value that they pass on. That's what is inheritable. Of course, the wealth is inheritable. And the other thing is 3-in-1 business leader. And I'm calling it a 3-in-1 business leader because if you want to succeed in agriculture and pass on this to your generations to come in the future, number one, this philosophy, by the way, I got it from one great author. I talk about him, Marco Weber. And This is a great inspiring book I found, a great inspiring book. It's really about inspiration as an entrepreneur. Number one, it says the entrepreneur, you must be the same person, you the same farmer must have three people in you as a farmer. Number one, you must always have a dream, always have a vision, that outlives you, like I said earlier, a vision that thinks about changing dynamics into the future, into your family, into your generation, creating probabilities out of possibilities. You come from a poor family, many of you, but you want to create something new for your generations to come. This is engineering chaos into harmony. Where the agriculture is not working, you will make it work. Number two, you are the same person, apart from being a visionary, you must be a great manager. I talked about it earlier. A great farmer, the one who passes on that skill, that knowledge for the generations to come. You must be able to build structures, systems, processes, and procedures. I talked about this one under the pillars. And finally, you must be the same person who's a technician. You can't call yourself a great farmer, ready to pass on this skill to generations to come, and yet you have got no idea about what you are doing. Entrepreneurship in agriculture is not just a dream. It's being technically competent too. You must know what it takes to grow, what you're growing, what it takes to farm, and what it takes to look after that livestock. You must know, I've got livestock. And I bought this from Namwara. I sent trucks there to buy, but that was mistake number one. It was not organic growth. It was not incremental. I wanted to have this much within a short period of time. But some of them died. I think I lost about 17 or something cattle. They died. They are not breeding. It has been 7 years now. They are not breeding as fast as I thought they would be breeding. There are so many of them, and they are looked after by somebody. I'm not there. I don't even know. At that point, I didn't even know what it took to look after cattle. Now, I got bombarded by requests to buy medicine and this drug, injection after injection, this and that. Whoa. The problem was that I decided to go at an investment I did not understand. You can't go and pass on that generation to a generation, a business you yourself don't understand how it works. You must be an entrepreneur, a manager, and a technician, somebody who is technically competent. As I wound up, persistency and consistency. Keep going. Even if you're not seeing instant success right now, keep going. Stick to your purpose. Stick to your vision. Stick to your goals and the strategies. The reason many of us don't make it, and we are failing to pass on this to our children, we are not reliable. We don't trust ourselves. We don't keep our word. We don't believe in our own dream. When we are in, it's tempting. When we're in situations like this, people give you offers, but then you have to decide, I may not be making that much now, but I'm building something, not for me. I want to leave a legacy. I want my fourth generation to point back 100 years, something happened. 100 years, something happened. Somebody paid the price for us. Somebody had foresight. This is a value. It's about learning from the business. They say learning from an experience is the best teacher. Failure is a school of business. And I always say to people, the best business, the best school is not Chibamba Kanyama, is not that business school out there. The business school in agriculture is actually going into agriculture and learning from the mistakes, the failures. One moment, all your cattle die. It doesn't mean that you now stop that business. The issue is, why did they die? I want to start it again, but I've learned mistakes, how not to look after my cattle. The reason many of us are not succeeding so well is when something fails, we jump to another thing. And again, it fails. When are you going to pass on that to your children? Failure is a school. When your cattle or your business is failing now, it is about why did it not succeed? That is what you must be focused on, not to abandon it. Many of you have moved from Nkumba to pigs, to quails, to bananas, to sugarcane. Now you are in avocado. You are moving from place to place. When are you going to learn? Finally, brother, agriculture, I got this one from African Development Bank as I was preparing this yesterday. Agriculture is not a way of life. I loved it. Agriculture is not a way of life. It is not a social sector or a development activity, despite what people may claim. Agriculture is a business. Agriculture is a business not only for us, it's an empire, it's a business for the future generations. In South Africa, it is the white people that have dominated agriculture because they have learned how to pass on this children to children. It's gone on for third, fourth, fifth generations. It's a culture. It's a belief, but because it's a belief and a culture, it is also a business that outstands everything else. Agriculture is in the blood of an African. Let us make it work for generations. It's in us. We dream. Whether I talk about the bankers right now, top-notch MC, whoever in Zambia right now you talk to, all they think about is their legacy is agriculture, because it is in our blood system. It is in our passion. Let us make it work. So I think I hand back now. My details are there in case some of you may want to be in touch. That's my details. So I hand back now to, is that Director?
Yes, thank you so much, Director, for the presentation. And I'm sure
thank you very excited,
and we are ready to. Okay, we are ready to take on the challenge and move forward. So the main issues that probably I may want to re-echo, just in summary, there is no shortcut to creating generational wealth. The name itself, generational wealth, means it has to be passed on from generation to generation. The trouble we find ourselves in now is the excitement to want to buy things quicker and to have the wealth sooner. And that only disturbs our minds, and it really clogs us, and the competition that is there around us, wanting to have beautiful houses, the best clothes and everything that there is wanting to have at the best time. And we think it should come just there and then. And I think we miss it. And by so doing, we involve ourselves in so many things. And agriculture as generational investment, we really need our time, because firstly, for you to harvest even your tomato, it will require you to wait for 90 days. Already it requires patience. When you plant today a seed of tomato, for it to come out 7, 8, 10 days later, it's not an easy thing. You have to put in a lot of things. So, and yet there's an assurance that we can reach very far with it. And once we learn the tactics, we learn the things well, we are able to get to the levels that many of us are admiring. What we are talking about in creating generational wealth is creating names, talking names. When you hear the name, when your name is mentioned, are people going to think about it? And is it a name that will make sense to the people out there? So all that comes with time, comes with sharpening, comes with a lot of, he mentioned in his presentation, Mr. Chibamba Kanyama, that there has to be endurance. Sometimes you have to bring down all the field. I think I shared at some point of this same presentation that at some point I brought down a field of tomatoes of more than even 60,000 plants. But all that painful as it may be, it was necessary to do so. But you continue building a day, every day, and it will get to somewhere someday. So agriculture is sustainable, is renewable. Just to recap some of this, and we need to have the passion. When you speak agriculture, when you walk, you must walk agriculture. The people around you must think agriculture. Your children must understand that there is something much more. And your children must also be part of that investment for it to be passed on to them, to be passed on to your grandchildren, who will be your children's children. And it passes on there. And then, interesting, in our faith these days, especially in our Christian circles, we are so worried and afraid of generational cases. We pray and we go to mountains and talk about all these things in different forums. No, we bind the generational cases and all that. But what are you doing to create generational wealth? And I think that is very important, because Once we start building on what we have, teaching our children, we will never cease to create our wealth, and our children will keep us. There's a trend now when, as we grow old, even the business grows old. It becomes frail. It becomes sick. It becomes weak. Our death is the death also of the business. So we really need to focus, because that's what we need to do for us to create generational wealth. And then there are myths. There are people who think that farming or agriculture is only for a certain sect of our country. They will say, no, agriculture is for the central province, only those that are dwelling there. We need to only find land in Serenge. We have to find land in Kushi. Agriculture is only for the Tongas. It's only for, those are myths. There are people, it's about passion, what you yourself want to achieve. And what you have directed your mind to is what you will get to. And all of us can achieve, because when God created us, He never created us with the mind of a Tonga as an agriculturist, with the mind of a Nyanja as an economist, with the mind of, no, all of us are created the same. It's what we align ourselves to. So we need to grow that passion and direct it accordingly, so that to all these myths, we can break them up, we can break them. Then he mentioned a very important issue of buying income generating assets. We know the youths now, as we grow, many times we want to buy Mercedes Benz, we want to buy Porsche cars and all that. What value are they bringing? And we cry foul, and we need to actually do much more. Okay, so that's the recap. We can now, I think, attend to questions. It's 21, we must be closing now. So I will hand over to the moderators, eMsika, for them to attend to one or two questions that we can. For those that will not be able to answer, I think we'll continue answering them. The video will be shared on Mr. Chibamba Kanyama's page. On my page, you can continue asking, and then answers will be provided on eMsika page. And the Zhunga Farms, we bring these programs every Sunday at 20 hours. We bring different presenters. And I'm sure I will call on Mr. Chibamba Kanyama again for yet another topic sometime sooner, so that he can talk to us again. I'm grateful and very thankful for your participation in today's class. Over to you, Mr. Mwat.
Thank you very much, Mr. Simbolanga, and thank you very much for that wonderful presentation by Mr. Chibamba Kanyama. Always, he never disappoints. That training was on point. We need to look at growing wealth for a very long period of time. And if you look at the word generational, it's 50 years. So if you're going to develop anything like that, Google is that much. We look at these big companies, Afgri. Tata now has come to take over Afgri. They are 100 years kind of businesses. So we definitely ourselves need to begin to think of such issues. Don't just look at yourself and the enjoyment for today. And based on that, we quickly maybe wanted to just lay out some few pointers. Already Mr. Simbolanga has mentioned a few things. There was a question from Clinton. I don't know whether we still have Mr. Chibamba Kanyama with us, but there was a question. I think the videos will be available on YouTube as indicated, and also on the page for Zhunga Farms and eMsika and Mulimi Apunzile. So that one is okay. A question for Mr. Chibamba Kanyama from Jalen Ranch. Jalen Ranch is kindly asking to say, kindly advise on how best to position yourself in light of the newly created MSME ministry, and also that CEEC now has been moved to this ministry. How best can livestock farmers position themselves to benefit from such changes? Thank you.
First of all, I believe that some of you may not really want to directly get into agriculture farming itself. You may want to specialize in what we call the value chains. The biggest gap we have in Zambia is not really the lack of products. We have plain products being farmed by farmers, though we still import a lot, like onions. We still import a lot of products which find them in ShopRite from South Africa. But the market is bigger. With the free trade area issue opening up now, I feel the market for Zambia is becoming larger and bigger, and the new ministries will seek to position Zambians to complete the full chain of agriculture. Like it or not, copper will be subdued by agriculture in coming years. That I'm 100% sure. Copper will be subdued by agriculture in terms of its contribution to GDP. It's about the Zambians positioning themselves. Now, this is what you should do. Learn how to do a business plan and a strategic plan. Because you may not access, even if you access this financing from government through the CEEC, what you need is to know how to run agriculture as a business. To me, that's very fundamental. I personally learned myself that business is more than just doing a product. What accounts to your success is 50% really about your product, what you are doing, selling, growing the crop, but 50% administration of your business. Managing your accounts and your books, putting things together. To me, that is a very strong pillar. And that's why I put it as one of the big pillars. I have seen it myself in my own business that as much as I go harvesting and hunting, I told one businessman, I say, you know what? You are a great entrepreneur, but where does your money go? I said, you are like a farmer, you're like a hunter who is always hunting, killing buffalo, killing antelope, of course, under license, and killing these and bringing the meat home, but nobody's cooking it. And you are seeing your meat is rotting every day. What is the use of farming when you cannot succeed from it? And your success in farming is not about just knowing how to grow the tomato, putting systems, administrative systems. So if you want benefit from the ministry and CEEC, I'm emphasizing this point, begin to put systems before you even approach government. Of course, the ministry will start mentoring and helping people with policies, how you can get help, how you can be equipped, but do it yourself if you can. Learn how to put systems in your business. That is what you pass on to your children. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chibamba Kanyama. That was elaborate, and I think we would definitely do that. I think if you are into business, please don't take that lightly. And I think some of the questions here, will pick up one more last one. Someone is asking something a little bit personal. Can I employ my brother as an agricultural manager for security reasons, as there is too much theft from workers? So probably I'm bringing this question because I want to, indicate the motive, because you have been mentioning issues to do with, bringing in children and bringing relatives and all those things. So I'm putting this question because of the motive. If someone is concerned about issues to do with theft, should that be the reason why we are allowing relatives? But what's your best route of bringing a relative into business or children, to be specific? This is from Rayson on Facebook. Thank you.
Thank you. I work with one of my sons in my business, but is treated like any other. He's an economist, trained, he's a project, whatever, fully, very, very knowledgeable, my firstborn son. And but he's operating under a system. It's a system. If you are going to employ people, let them be employed on a system. And I'm really emphasizing, people will be bored with me because I'm really making a lot of noise around this word. So we got policies of how we recruit, how we hire. We cannot just hire a relative unless there's a position for it and they are onboarded nicely. They work like any other person. They must contribute like any other person. And there are accountable systems for all employees. Accountable systems, which manage pilfering, because there are deposits to the bank. Who signs on there? How do you do withdrawals? How do you bank? Every cash that comes in must first of all be banked before it is used for anything. So there are processes which control behavior. And I'm emphasizing this word because the good thing about systems is even if your eyes are closed, things are working the way you want them to work. It's a prototype. So whether you are employing relatives or no relatives, the most important thing is a system that allows the people who should be recruited how they should be operating, what we call the operational manual and everything. And you'll be able to manage the pilfering. Thank you.
Thank you. That is perfect, perfectly done. We appreciate that direction, you know, because a lot of us bring in family members just anyhow, and sometimes our fingers are bent by the same family members, and now you have a problem not just with employees but also with the family. So just the last question, Mr. Chibamba Kanyama, maybe just in 2 minutes. This one, I think we're running out of time now. There's a question to say from Edith Kanyemba to say, Mr. Kanyama, we are trying to put up a plantation of sugar in Southern Province, but the problem is with feasibility studies and business plans are very expensive. Do you know of a company who can do it for us at an affordable price? Now, I'm bringing this question because I also want you to elaborate on the idea of people asking other people to write their business plans and the likes. I want you to answer her question, as well as also just elaborate a little bit more on the idea of, you know, buying business plans and things like that. Is that a good practice for us going forward as business people?
No, we do, one of our key business areas at Bridges is we do business plan. We do a lot. We have done business plans for ZRA, not business plan, but strategic plan. We did strategic plan for ZRA, for NIMA, for Zamra. We have done for National Airport Corporation, Lusaka Securities Exchange, Health Professional Council of Zambia. We are now we're just finishing 4 charts. We're starting on PIA and WAMA. Now, what we do is we call it a process consulting strategic plan. We refuse to do strategic plan and just hand it over to the company. We do it jointly. They must own, the employees must own the strategic plan to the extent where even if they misplace the document, they were part of the process of coming up with strategic objectives, the KPIs and everything. They knew what was in it. It has gone into them. In other words, don't give somebody to do a strategic plan or business plan and think for you. It is yours. You hire them as facilitators. So there are 2 ways to get the people a company. One is that they work through with you and they do it with you until the end. That is very expensive. I admit it's quite expensive because we charge quite high, very high. Actually, for corporates, very high. But we also do facilitations where we just help you to think and you finish it off yourself. Those ones are cheaper. There are some companies which I know that can do that at a cheaper price. Now, because as we are now more of a corporate, so we are not so much into facilitation anymore, but we know other companies and individuals who can do it for you as facilitators for quite some very reasonable amount of money. And my details are there. We can direct those to you.
Yep. Perfect. Thank you very much. And yes, I was just about to get to that point to say that Mr. Chibamba Kanyama's phone numbers, the contacts have just been shared once more in the chat, and they were shared as well also on Facebook. For those who would like to follow up with what he's just said right now, you're still coming into business and you need some form of facilitation, they'll definitely help you with that. Thank you very much, Mr. Chibamba Kanyama, for giving those responses. For those who we could not read your questions, like we have said, you know, we want to keep with time right now. But this was the training by Mr. Zhunga in conjunction with eMsika, Mulimi Apunzile to be specific. If you are a farmer and you would like to buy farm inputs, please go to eMsika.com and you'll find them there and we'll have them delivered to you. If you would like to learn more on farming and other trainings by Mr. Zhunga, please go to Apunzile.com. All these details will be shared with you. And also, if you would like to get more trainings and more collaboration conversations with Mr. Zhunga Simbwalanga, go to his Facebook page as well, Zhunga Farms, and his personal account, Zhunga Simbwalanga, and you will see and follow his path of farming. And definitely you will benefit from that, you know, because there's a lot of amazing things that are happening in agriculture. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending in numbers. We look forward. There will be another training happening next Sunday. And there are other trainings happening this week. Go to our YouTube and you will find it. You will find extra information. This video will be available there as well. And those who need extra information, as you reach out to Mr. Chibamba Kanyama, you will share the PowerPoint slide with you as well, if that is something that he does. But please let us educate ourselves as farmers and those interested in the farming value chain. Thank you very much, everyone. We'll meet you again along the week. Please don't forget to subscribe audios. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and all other channels. Thank you very much, everyone. It's a good night and have a blessed week ahead of you. We would expect you to stick around, Mr. Chibamba Kanyama, until the end of the call. Thank you very much to everybody. Have a good night.
Hi, thank you for joining us. My name is Gilbert and I'm the CEO and co-founder of eMsika. We recently wrote an article titled The Modern Education System, and in that article, we spoke about how one is no longer limited to the idea of sitting in a classroom at specific times for them to learn anything. Despite the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic being terrible and devastating, it made room for a lot of innovation across the world. One of them for us at eMsika is how we deliver information to farmers. You see, prior to the pandemic, we followed farmers to their residential areas to educate them on how to farm as a business, sometimes even having classes in the heat of the sun. Now, we get to reach a much wider audience who are young, old, experienced, and even aspiring farmers in the comfort of their homes or wherever they may choose to take their lessons from. Anyone is at liberty to attend any class at any time and study at their own pace using our recently launched platform, Apunzile.com. In full words, Mulimi Apunzile. On this platform, we get to work with professionals from different fields, agrochemicals, livestock, plant diseases, and so on. If you would love to be part of this global community like I do, you can access our e-learning platform by simply going to www.apunzile.com and pick from a wide range of programs that we have made available for you. We look forward to seeing you there. And please remember, no farmer, no food. Thank you.